Embarking on the journey of business ownership transfer can be complicated and emotional, particularly with family entwined. Join me, Vincent Mastrovito, owner of Prometheus Partners, in Finishing Touches, the podcast that genuinely understands your challenges and aims to equip you with invaluable tips for a smooth business succession. By the end of each episode, you'll feel more confident and ready to guide your business into the next phase. Enjoy the podcast. Welcome to Finishing Touches, your source for insightful conversations on business growth and exit planning success. I'm your host, Vincent Mastrovito, and today we have a special guest joining us, George Sandmann. George is a veteran entrepreneur, author, and advisor to advisors, and he has an exciting book on the horizon set to be published by Forbes Magazine in September of 2023. So we're going to talk to him about that. In his book titled The Growth Driving Advisor, Leading Businesses from Stuck to Best in Class, George shares his expertise gained from over 30 years of entrepreneurial experience and more than a decade of helping advisors achieve success. This book offers practical advice that can be applied immediately, making it a must-read for any aspiring business leader. One of the key topics we'll be discussing today diving into today is the three dimensions of business growth methodology and why it sets itself apart as a relevant approach. We'll also explore George's extensive experience working with advisors and gain his perspective on exit planning, a crucial aspect of any business journey. That's not all we're going to be talking about. We'll also uncover the importance of the three dimensions within the growth framework and learn which one takes the lead. And of course, we'll discover Growth Drive's mission and vision as a technology-powered business advisory system led by George himself. So if you're ready to gain some valuable insights into profit and value growth, M&A prep, business valuation, operational best practices, sales and marketing for business advisors, and the art of leadership, moderation, and facilitation, then you're in the right spot. George Sandmann, welcome to Finishing Touches. Let's get started on this enlightening conversation about business growth. Glad that you're here today. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Vincent. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, no worries, man. What an honor. So let's talk a little bit about the book and what inspired you to write the book and what can we learn to gain from it once it comes out?
You know, I was inspired to write the book. I've been an entrepreneur for, as you said, for over 30 years, and I've been working with business advisors with well over 1,000, senior level business advisors over the last decade plus on thousands and thousands of client cases. And after a while, you start seeing, you see trends, enough conversations, enough cases. We developed the three dimensions of business growth. And I wanted to get the three dimensions of business growth out into the market. I think it helps as we started working. And when I say we, I mean our community, right? When we started working with clients with the three dimensions of business growth, we got an immediate positive reaction from those CEOs because they could see themselves, they could identify themselves in those three dimensions. And if it's okay, I'll take a sec to describe them. The dimensions are predictable profits and cash flow. That's dimension one. And that's the launch pad for growth. The second dimension is predictable, sustainable growth. So we take our cash flow from dimension one. We're able to sleep better at night. We have some better, a more efficient operation. And we now can make knowing bets, right? We can invest in growth without worrying about whether or not there'll be cash coming in to pay for it. And the third, and the most important word I'm going to say here is predictable transferable value. Transferable value is the ultimate measure of business success, right? Even if I don't care about monetizing the value of my business today, one day either I will or my heirs and assigns will, right? So how do we create a business that has predictable cash flow, is experiencing is sustainable growth, and therefore has maximized the transferable value of the business? And one of the things that business owners don't often grasp is that they may have created, let's say a business owner has created $12 million worth of latent value in the business. At the deal table, they get a rude awakening. If they can approach the deal table at all, if they can successfully complete the sale of the business, they're going to get some percentage of that 12 million, with the balance going to the new buyer. So, that's the three dimensions. And what motivated me is helping middle market businesses, the heart of our economy, get the help they need from women and men like you, to make the changes they need to do to redesign their business to deliver that ultimate measure of business success.
Yeah, I don't think it could be said any better than that. Let's talk a little bit about transferable value. And you mentioned this. I mean, this happens so much with business owners that have already sold their businesses, looking to sell their businesses, or may even be in the trenches of trying to get this value out. To us, there's a difference between EBITDA, free cash flow, things that actually fund these deals, wherever you're going to, whether it's a private equity, which is pretty small percentage of the deals anyway, strategic buyers, some type of inside transaction, either to kids or non-family key person. When you talk about transferable value, isn't it really about it? Does that owner, what's the likelihood or percentage, so to speak? It's almost like a Monte Carlo simulation, right? If you're in the gambling world, they run these scenarios and say, what's the likelihood you're going to win, right? And I know they do it in the wealth management world now also, but what's the likelihood that you could get that $12 million?
Well, the likelihood, unfortunately, is very small. So, numbers that we use routinely: 19 and 20 companies cannot approach an M&A transaction as they are currently run. And of the 1 in 20, so that's what, 5%, those people are splitting the range of value. So let's just say that for an industry, your range of value. So businesses trade on a multiple of earnings. And there's a range of multiples. Some businesses might get 2 times earnings. Some businesses might get 6, some even more. But let's say our normalized trading range is 2 to 6 times earnings. For the average business out there, unfortunately, and I have been guilty of this in my career, we operate under a fairy tale, a false premise. And that false premise is that, well, I will work for as long as I want, and then I will sell my business for as much as I need to fund my retirement. And those can all be true, but they can only be true if you have done what is commonly called exit planning. I think of it as equity value planning. This is the ultimate, the exit plan is the ultimate strategic plan, because you are connecting shareholder value, the value to the owners, with business goals at a determined point on the horizon. And our vision, our mission is to make sure that a maximum number of businesses are able to transfer at high value, whether it is to the private capital markets, to an inside sales, through gifting. But all of these things, the further in advance we plan for them, the better the result, right? This need not be heartache. This can be a non-chaotic process. And that's where professionals like you are so incredibly valuable to business owners. And business owners simply don't know that they need your help. And that, getting back to why I wrote the book, a driving force for writing that book.
Yeah, I know you had mentioned one time in one of our conversations, there's really 3 types of business owners, right? I think it was like 62% want to grow their business. I think there's another 21 or 22%. I might be off on the percentages here, but around 20 some odd percent want to just make the business easier to run. And then you've got about another 17% or so that want to sell. We're speaking at least initially about the 17% that want to sell. And then about 80 some odd percent of them need to get more value to be able to sustain their lifestyle, right?
Yes.
But when you take a look at your process and growth drive and what it does for businesses as a whole, it really answers the question for all 3 of those business owners, doesn't it?
That's exactly right. And you had the stats. You had the stats spot on. Those are statistics that we gleaned from advisors analyzing over 50,000 businesses. And you're right. If you think of this 17% who are preparing for M&A, and they find out, 83% of the time, this is all data driven. These are data driven numbers. 83% of the time that they're not going to net the capital they'll need to fund their family's long-term wealth plan. That how now we get back and we bring it full circle. How then do you change that answer? You change that answer by doing two things. One is by doing three things. You're going to have to increase your free cash flow. You are going to have to make the business easier to run. And let's drill down on that for a sec. The business needs to be immortal. And what a lot of us don't plan for is that the business needs to actually be better able to deliver better returns after we leave than it can with us there. So how do we do that? Well, that gets into the making your business easier to run, that 21% you mentioned. So creating maximized transferable value gets back to the other two dimensions. That's why we call them dimensions, not phases, because you can move in all three at the same time. So if, Madam Business Owner, you want to maximize transferable value, you are going to need to move in dimension one and increase free cash flow. And you are going to have to create either current growth or a highly credible promise of future growth, and be able to be plucked out of the business and have it execute against that beautiful future that you've described for a subsequent owner.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's sometimes hard for owners to get their arms wrapped around it. Transferable value versus value. There's so many ways to value a company, but I think that this will help them get a little bit better clarity about how do I really maximize that value, whether you need the full value or not. If you've done a great job of saving your money, right? If you don't need any of the value from your company to sustain your current lifestyle, it doesn't mean you don't want the full value. It just means you're going to approach that transaction a lot differently than someone who needs 90% of that value to keep going.
That's correct.
Yeah, they're just going to keep going. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about how you work with advisors, and kind of how you approach helping them get to where they want to do, because that's a skill set, that most people just don't have. Of you're talking to business owners all day and trying to understand a little bit more about what it is that they do and move through to help sure that they're bringing back value. So share that a little bit with our listeners, if you don't mind.
So when we work with a business advisor, there are a number of things that we can help them do. And this is all up to them. We offer, in Growth Drive, for example, and there are a lot of great organizations out there, but we'll focus on Growth Drive for a sec. In Growth Drive, we offer I can put it in three buckets: knowledge, training, how to deploy the three dimensions of growth, how to have the right conversations with business owners so that you win the engagement. By the way, winning the engagement is great for the advisor, but it has a 10, 20, 30x return for the business owner. This is very, very good for the business owner and for their stakeholders, for the communities in which these businesses exist, right? The communities that depend on these businesses. So knowledge, training, and some pretty fun stuff, right? You've participated in it. It is, sure, it's sophisticated, but it is fun, it is valuable, and very sticky. And our promise is that people have tools and techniques they can apply immediately. We also have tools. I just tease that, I guess. We have a very powerful software suite called Clarity, and Clarity is designed to help with every phase of the engagement, from generating leads to winning engagements to educating. This is an education process, right? You can't sit in front of a business owner and wag your finger and dictate to them. Not if you want to guide them long term. Educate the client about where they're strong, where they're weak, and help them form a vision of how they will redesign the business to meet their goals. And then the third leg of the stool is support. And we have a very, very sophisticated support program that starts as simply as self-serve modules. But what's exciting and unique is our online community of business advisors. So imagine having people from all the professions that typically work with a business owner, on whom you can call, pick, have conversations. And the ultimate, our premium support vehicle is our mastermind peer groups, and I know you participate in one, and I'd love your unscripted. I'd love your feedback. But these mastermind groups are structured. This is a group of 8 to 12 professionals under NDA who meet on a regular basis and discuss the challenges, the opportunities, the problems, the ideas around building a thriving advisory business, and can span the gamut from lead gen to, hey, I'm seeing X in my client engagement who has some feedback. And if you imagine having, an M&A professional, a wealth advisor, a management consultant, a variety of pros around the table and inside a real vulnerable circle of trust, right? These are women and men who know each other, who get to know each other very well through this process. That is a tremendously impactful, powerful support mechanism for building a practice. It is far more impactful than study groups, than chapters, all of which are good. But this is really the pro level.
Yeah, I would agree. I can speak from experience to those that listen to this podcast that this is at the pro level, because you have to be prepared when you come to these meetings once a month for about 2.5 hours or so. And you have to be prepared. There's a way to go about it. But I think that the important thing is, to your point, George, is there are other advisors with a lot of experience in a lot of different areas that will add some insight. And I think that's just about continually learning of, how can you get better at what you do? And it's so differently than a business and a business owner. Is like, how can they continue to get better at what they do? And so in an essence, we're really practicing what we're preaching. As I look at, we're asking you to engage with a consultant or a coach, however you want to view what our role is, an advisor. We're doing the same thing to make our practices better, to be able to advise you by getting information from a lot of other people and being able to streamline what you want in your business. So I think it's just a great relationship between the advisor and the owner, especially those that really are serious about doing one of the three things, which is either growing the value of your company, making it easier to run, or at some point transitioning out. And I understand all three of those will transition out at some point, but somebody may have 15 or 20 years before that transition happens, and they need a little bit more horsepower to kind of get it going and get where they want to go. So I think that's always great. George, what would be the one thing you would want to leave our listeners with to make sure they have a really good understanding of, to reach out and chat with you and talk to you about what it is that you do?
Yeah, thanks, Vincent. They're really, you asked for one. I'm going to share two. One,
Absolutely.
ask yourself how you can make it easier to scale your advisory business, right? How do you make it easier to create more time for yourself and to have a deeper impact with your clients? That's a conversation I'd love to have with you. And two, how do you deliver client wins, right? Because if we deliver client wins, we never will look for marketing is very attractive, right? You buy a list of CEOs and go after it, and that is a hard road to hoe. But if you are delivering client wins, in our experience, and I'm basing this on 12 plus years of working with advisors, if you're delivering client wins, you're never going to look for a client again. So how do we help you deliver client wins? Which, by the way, moves us forward on our vision of having an indelible positive impact on $1 trillion worth of middle market and pre-middle market businesses. And this is a win for the business owner, 20x the win for the advisor. But we have advisors building really, really valuable, satisfying practices using the knowledge, tools, and support that Growth Drive puts at their disposal.
Awesome. Well said, George. Really, thanks. Appreciate it. Appreciate you being here today. Appreciate the knowledge that you share. I think it's always important to be able to share, give what's called, what I always call thought leadership back. What are you giving back to the industries and other industries? So for our listeners, we hope that you enjoyed this episode of Finishing Touches. You can get more content if you check out our website at prometheuspartners.com. If our podcast has been helpful for you, then please certainly leave a review to help others discover us and stay updated with the latest tips and insight. We look forward to accompanying you on your journey to a successful business transition in our next episode. Hope all of you have a great week. And thank you so much for being here today. Really appreciate it. That's a wrap on today's episode of Finishing Touches. For more information and guidance, head over to prometheuspartners.com. Your feedback means the world to us, so please take a moment and leave a review of the podcast. You can stay in the loop or ask me a question by connecting with me on LinkedIn or visit our website and start a conversation with me. We look forward to accompanying you on your journey to a successful business transition in our next episode, and have a great week. Thank you so much.